Well, we've known it's been going on for a long time, but now we really know because this young man, 29 years of age, decided that he could no longer in good conscience hold his silence. Rather, he copied many documents, gave them to certain journalists that he felt like would publish them, would know how to handle them. He went over the documents carefully, making sure that they did not hurt individuals. He was working at a $200,000 per year job, had a very comfortable lifestyle. Knowing that he was going to risk it all, he decided, I just simply cannot sit idly by and allow to happen what I am watching happen right now from inside the intelligence operation of our government presently. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is not a new story. Do you remember back after 9/11? Do you remember when the government went to the major internet service providers such as AT&T, Sprint, and all the others, Verizon, and insisted that they give the government access to their files so that they could look for people who might be a threat to the United States of America? All of the internet service providers caved to the will of the government. Then later, when lawsuits begin to fly because these major corporations who had contracts with their purchasers, with their clients, when they began to be sued, the government went back and passed a retroactive bill. I mean, I watched this happen. I thought, this is beyond the pale. This is incredible. They launched a retroactive law that gave all of those big internet service providers immunity because they had broken the law. They had violated the Constitution in compliance with the government, who was also violating the Constitution, all of it being done in the name of security. Now, how much security do we have to have before we trace the Constitution? I mean, what is the Constitution worth? In times gone by, hundreds of thousands have died to preserve it. Now, to catch one terrorist, we think we have an option of throwing it in the trash. I mean, some of the arguments that I'm reading in the breaking news today talk about, well, we did this and it's justified because it caught a terrorist or whatever. Well, just because something allows us to catch one terrorist, does that mean that we can trace the entire Fourth Amendment? That's what's being said right now. That's what's going on right now. Now, Americans, we better look at this very carefully and soberly. I'm not talking about this to vilify any person in particular. I mean, this has really gotten out of hand under the watch of George W. Bush and now under Barack Obama. Of course, President Obama, he said that all this would get cleaned up under his administration, but it hasn't. It's gotten progressively worse. So that's where we are right now. We are looking at this whistleblower, Mr. Let me go back and give his name for you, Mr. Edward Snowden. He made a decision that even if he spent the rest of his life in prison, because he already saw what this administration does to whistleblowers. They have gone after these people who have blown the whistle on violations of ethics and violation of constitutional norms, and they have gone after them vigorously. They love to guard themselves when they violate the Constitution. They make all kinds of excuses for it. And yet, if a whistleblower comes along to try to save liberty for the American people, they prosecute them vigorously. Well, that's what's happening already. They're threatening to prosecute Mr. Edward Snowden for violation of the Espionage Act and whatever else, because he is saying, look, everything that's happening, all of your emails, all of your phone calls, all of your web visits are being stored. It appears today, from all I've been able to read, that all of our phone calls, your phone calls, all of your web visits, all of your emails are being stored so that they can be accessed whenever the government deems it necessary. Now, Americans, are you hearing me? This is unheard of in the Soviet Union. This is unheard of in Red China. This is America. And under our Fourth Amendment, we are to be free from unreasonable searches and seizures. It's always been that a warrant was required. A search warrant had to be obtained from a judge, and someone had to go forward before that judge and give reasonable cause in order to get a search warrant. But now then, no search warrant required. I mean, it's like wholesale. It's absolutely incredible. We are going to be taking your calls on the program today. I feel like we need to talk about this openly, and this could be one of the most important discussions we've ever had here on Politics and Religion to the liberty of the United States of America. The government, according to our forefathers, should not be able to search your private papers and your private communication. And yet, we're finding out now it is happening on a totally wholesale and unrestrained scale. Now, I would welcome any of you out there that may be involved in the Secret Service. If you have things to add, if we're saying anything that is not correct, we're not here to rebel rouse. We're not here to criticize the government unduly. But if they are doing this, then we are here to shout it from the rooftop. We need to realize what's going on. I'm going to go ahead and go to the phones right now. Travis is calling from Kentucky. Hello, Travis. Welcome to Politics and Religion.
Well, hello. How are you doing today, Pastor Baxter? It's great to chat with you here.
Thank you.
Well, let me just first of all say this is the first time I've heard, and I'm not picking on you specifically, but from conservative groups, it's been a long time since I've heard the word Fourth Amendment. They've been so obsessed with Second Amendment, and the fact is that way back when President Bush was in office and started a lot of this, not all of it, but a lot of it, a poll showed 89% of Republicans, and many of them were the more conservative evangelical variety, said if Mr. Bush wants us to give up our liberty for security, we're willing to do it. And I think that would have really been the time to have started to stand up. And the other perplexing thing is, and I welcome anyone to look at the Supreme Court, but this has been going on for a while, when I would look at a case that had to do with our precious Fourth Amendment freedoms, and I'd look at the justices who were stronger on the Fourth Amendment, in our favor. They were liberal justices, kid you not. And when I looked at the justices that were stronger on police power to search without probable cause, I would hear names like Scalia and Thomas and Rehnquist. One case in point up here in Indianapolis, north of me, there was a police roadblocks where cars would be randomly searched for drugs without any probable cause with drug-sniffing dogs. That meant just by going through the roadblock, not with any sort of reason to stop you, but just automatically. You had to open your trunk, and the dog would have to go in your car. Well, it was the liberals who said, hey, that is a violation of Fourth Amendment. But it was Scalia, Thomas, and at that time Rehnquist, and I can't remember whoever else, who said, hey, wait a minute, no, we've got a war on drugs. The Fourth Amendment is subservient to the war on drugs. And let me make my last point. If these conservative justices and many of the evangelical and neoconservatives that backed the Bush administration and evangelicals, if they put the war on drugs as they did, going back to the Reagan administration, on this high level where they subjected us and took our Fourth Amendment freedoms away for the war on drugs, who's to say that either Bush or Obama can't do the same and cut our Fourth Amendment in the name of security with terrorism? So my point, going back to my main point, with an exception of a handful of libertarians and a lot of progressive, I'm talking far left, progressive Democrats, they were the only ones I saw out there complaining about what was going on in the wake of 9/11. A lot of the evangelicals were, here, Mr. Bush, here's our Fourth Amendment, you take it and protect us.
Well, Travis,
now,
I don't know
why is that? Why the change of heart?
I don't know whether you were listening to this program back in those times or not, but I've been pounding the table from the beginning. Ever since I saw what was happening, I've been quoting Benjamin Franklin, the person that is willing to surrender liberty for security will end up with neither. We've had that quote on this program over and over. And when Mr. Bush signed the Patriot Act and the Real ID Act, we actually devoted an entire issue of Endtime magazine and sent one to every U.S. senator, every U.S. congressman, every governor, every state senator, every state congressman. We have been pounding the table, screaming at the top of our lungs. So, I don't know whether we can really lump all this into, you're right, many of the conservatives, because they were blindly law and order and therefore do whatever it takes. But the fact is, no matter if we have a constitution, it will not serve as our constitution unless it is defended in all cases. When we start making exceptions, then it's no longer a constitution. So I'm with you. I don't know whether we can lump all conservatives together, all liberals together. Right now, the liberals are saying almost nothing, but the conservatives.
The ACLU has
hold on.
Okay, go ahead.
Hold on. The conservatives aren't saying much either about this program. Okay. Both of them are pretty much defending this right now, and so I think America, sorry to say, we're getting used to the government living inside of our hip pocket, and that's the tragedy of the whole thing.
Well, I'm with you, and I respect what you just said, and I respect that you were among those few, whatever angle or way you'd like to label yourself, you were one of the few that was out there. I will say that Bob Barr, a fairly libertarian conservative, joined with the ACLU, not ACLJ, ACLU, to try to combat some of the aspects of it. So I see a real coalition forming between civil libertarian liberals and more libertarian-esque conservatives to stand together despite differences and to fight some of this.
Well, the Bible says where the Spirit of the Lord is, there's liberty. And anytime you just rule everything by law, there's got to be some principles of liberty that transcend everything. I'm up against a break, Travis, so I got to let you go. But thank you very much for your input today. We'll be right back.